Hey there folks, Joey DeAngelis here. Movie Squad video. I promised this would be uploaded Saturday, but it's probably going to be uploaded sometime early Sunday morning. Anyway, I just got from a screening of Guillermo del Toro's new film, The Shape of Water. I saw it at New York's AMC Loews Lincoln Square Theater. Very cool theater. Each theater there is kind of like themed to look like an old time movie palace, I guess. You know, that's the best way I could describe it. Like at least the one I went inside just looked like a not perfect replica, but like a decent replica of an old theater. Anyway, enough about my experience with that. I'm going to talk more about Guillermo del Toro, the film, and also the special extra bonus we got at this screening. So, I'm a huge fan of Guillermo del Toro. I love a lot of his movies: Pan's Labyrinth, Devil's Backbone, Hellboy movies, Pacific Rim, Crimson Peak. He has a lot of great movies, and he also has a lot of great movies that have never been made, or unfinished projects, etc., etc. He was supposed to direct the Hobbit movies. He was supposed to make a Pinocchio movie. I don't know if that's still happening. He's always wanted to make At the Mountains of Madness movie, but that's probably never going to happen. He was going to make a Beauty and the Beast movie, but that didn't happen. So, yeah, a lot of things. But when he does make something, it is kind of special. And that is certainly the case with his latest film, The Shape of Water. This is an English language film, you know, in comparison to things like Pan's Labyrinth, which are Spanish language. But this film tells the story of a woman played by Sally Hawkins. Takes place during the 1960s. This woman, Eliza, I believe her name was, works at this, you know, military asset facility, and the latest thing that they've scrounged up or discovered was this creature from the Black Lagoon looking guy played by Doug Jones, who has been in many of Del Toro's other films as, you know, the Faun and the Pale Man in Pan's Labyrinth. He was most prominently in the Hellboy movies, Abe Sapien. He was also in Crimson Peak. He's around. He also did the body work for the Silver Surfer. You know, he's been in stuff. And this woman, you know, she's mute, she can't speak, has a connection with this amphibious creature. However, the government is trying to figure out, you know, a way to use this to their advantage so they can beat the Soviets in the space race. Yeah. So, okay. So I was really looking forward to this movie for the longest time. You know, trailers looked really good. I loved the director. I'm like, yeah, this is really cool. You know, when I first heard like The Shape of Water, and I heard it was just a Cold War drama, I was like, oh, because I usually like the fantastical element in Del Toro's film. There's usually what happens, but anyway, I was surprised when I saw like the Gill Man, the creature from the Black Lagoon looking guy in the trailers. I'm like, oh wow, okay, this is interesting. So best way I could put this is it's a Beauty and the Beast tale. You know, it's kind of like from the perspective of, okay, what if the women that are like being carried off by these monsters, what if they were actually into it? And sometimes that happens, but more often than not, we get things like the original King Kong, which is my favorite movie, where the heroine wants nothing to do with the monster and is kicking and screaming. Or, you know, the woman loves the guy already, but then he becomes a monster and other things complicated. This is like, from the onset, you know this thing is not human. But she doesn't care. It's the one person she has like a connection with. And, you know, in her own words in the trailer, it's like, you know, when he sees me, he doesn't know that I'm incomplete. It's such a heartbreaking line. And speaking of that, Sally Hawkins is terrific, let me tell you. She is fantastic. You know, like I just feel like sign language just seems to be a common thing that we have in movies now. So with the Planet of the Apes movies, we have the Inhumans TV show where Black Bolt communicates through sign language, and now we have this movie Shape of Water where our main heroine is communicating through sign. She's great. Sally Hawkins should definitely be in the Best Actress lineup for the Oscars. Who else is in this? Octavia Spencer. She is hilarious in this movie. Actually, what I was going to say is that I attended the screening. It was a Q&A with Del Toro, Doug Jones, Octavia Spencer, and one of the other actors, Michael Shulberg. I forget his name, but you know he's also in the movie. And Del Toro summed it up perfectly. It's like, you know, like when I die and go to heaven, I hope Octavia is God, because she's very like personable, very much of a human quality to Octavia Spencer. If I can upload some of those Q&A stuff, I might, so be on the lookout for that. But that's on another topic. She's very good in the movie as Eliza's friend. It's great to have her. It's kind of a different choice to have somebody like Octavia Spencer in a Del Toro movie, but I welcome it all the same. Richard Jenkins, I believe, he basically plays Eliza's like roommate, sort of. He's a fun character. He has a lot of funny dialogue. He has a thing with pie, you know, and he's a struggling artist, and he's got his own personal issues and, you know, things. And that's the other thing with this movie too, is that it's about like the outsider, like the other, you know, the other, like people who are different categories of other sort of coming together. And it's kind of a nice theme to put in this movie. Let me also say before I forget, Michael Shannon. Okay, Michael Shannon, let me tell you, he is a scary villain in this one. He is horrifying in a lot of scenes. But there are moments where it humanizes him, but not to, like, you know, where it makes you want him to succeed. It's more along the lines of, you know, like, you understand his motivations or why he's coming from that point of view. You know, he's not the nicest guy in the world at all. Kind of disrespects the other, you know, people beneath him at the facility. Really treats the creature horribly. It's very hard to watch. I'd almost compare him in some ways to Captain Vidal from Pan's Labyrinth, another great Del Toro villain, who's just so horrible, but also there is like I said, there's a quality about him where you understand, you're made to understand the motivations, even though you don't like him still. It's not like other villain things where you're like, oh, I hope the villain wins. No, I'm like, no, Shannon should not win in this. What else do I need to say? Oh, the music by Alexandre Desplat. You know, great score. I think he's Academy Award-winning composer, and the music is great in this movie. They also use a lot of, like, you know, she plays records a lot. Sally Hawkins is one of the other connections she has with the creature. The cinematography is beautiful. I don't know if it was Guillermo Navarro this time, because I know sometimes Del Toro collaborates with him, but last time he wasn't able to collaborate with him. I don't know who did it this time around. But cinematography looks beautiful. Just visually, the film is excellent. So it's just such attention to detail, and it's a very, like, great looking movie. There's a couple, like, underwater scenes that are just spectacular. You know, spectacular, like, emotional scenes. That's the other thing too. This movie can be somewhat, you know, graphic. You know, that's the thing, is that it's not just like, you know, in other, like, stories of Beauty and the Beast, where, like, the Beast, you know, it's like, oh, I love the Beast, you know, or the beastly creature. You know, you know, she's really into it. Okay, that's the thing. That's kind of a twist on it. But, you know, there's some great, like, love scenes. You know, scenes of pathos. You know, with the relationship between this amphibious creature and Eliza in this movie. You know, just trying to think back to the Q&A, like the type of movie that this is. You know, again, people like to cite, you know, Creature from the Black Lagoon and other things. Del Toro was thinking about like classic Hollywood in general with this movie. In his own, kind of sort of like paraphrasing him a bit, but he's like, you know, if you want to make something original, you have to connect things that are already there, but that haven't been connected in that way before. And he's like, and the thing is, if I was going to be influenced by anything, there really aren't too many examples of Cold War romantic dramas with musical elements involving a fish guy and a mute cleaning lady. You know, there's no direct thing there. I mean, there's obviously parallels, like obviously Creature from the Black Lagoon, E.T. is a definite big one in this movie, but you know, it's just, I was moved. I was very much moved that, like, you know, as the movie went on with this relationship, you know, I was just so, one of these two to be able to be together. It's very powerful. There's a lot of like really good like comedic dialogue. So I'd have to say, maybe out of his English language movies, this might be his best one. It's hard to say if it's better. I don't know if it's better than Pan's Labyrinth, because Pan's Labyrinth is so good. But maybe best English language film that he's done so far. I'd probably would go at least that far. And one of my favorite movies of the year. I'm trying to think of other things that they, you know, they were talking about like the movie. I was at they had the Q&A afterwards, and Del Toro was talking about like the actors in Del Toro talking about the amount of detail they put into this. So the actor who plays this Russian scientist in the movie, he was given like 4 pages of backstory about his character, like the way he eats, the things that he likes, the things that he dislikes, you know, his passions, and all this stuff that, you know, might not appear in the movie, but it helps develop a character. It helps the actor develop a character. And, you know, they were also talking about that they were glad that the creature was like 90% like Doug Jones in the costume, because it helps anchor the performances. It really does add something when you have Sally Hawkins reacting to Doug Jones in this costume. And she's feeding him the eggs and doing all this other stuff. It's great. You know, but like I said, it's just a fantastic movie. Right now it's in very, very limited release. I think it's only in like a very small handful of screens right now. It's set to open nationwide in the States on December 22nd. But if you're in the New York area and you can check this out, I definitely would. As of this recording is like Sunday, probably, yeah, it's probably gonna be up by Sunday, and this Sunday night, Del Toro's doing a third Q&A at Lincoln Square after the 7:30 screening of the film. So if you want to look into that, you can look into that. Otherwise, wait till the nationwide release, or if it comes even nearest in the city near you, check it out. I definitely want to see this again. I can't wait to own it on Blu-ray, and I can't wait to listen to Del Toro's commentary track, because especially after, you know, that Q&A and all the commentaries I've listened to of his in the past, just listening to him talk about anything, because he has such a passion for so many things, and he has such an explanation, such a logic behind all the things that are in his movies. It's actually really incredible. But overall, definitely check this one out. Easily one of the best movies of the year. Expect this one to be a big, big Oscar contender for the award season. So, see you guys later.
Were you preparing for this role?
Oh, well, first of all, the man sitting over there has changed my life, so for the better. So, yes, we have a shorthand now, but for instance, a side note about Hellboy 2, The Golden Army. I played 3 characters in that. One of them was the Chamberlain, and he, just to show you our shorthand, for the Chamberlain character, he said, "Dougie, I want you to play and give him sort of a ew." That's all he said, and I was like, "Got it." So by now, yes, he knows more about me than I know about myself. He knows more about my strengths and talents, if I have any. He'll know them before I do.
What cues did he give you to prepare for this?
So for this one, right, number 1 was that you are the romantic leading male of this film. As a fish man. So that was terrifying this time. That was new ground for me because look at me. But no, I was hoping for that. Aw, thank you. No, you're pretty.
But you're so handsome, though.
Thank you. That's what I was hoping for. Thank you. But so to be in a creature suit and not be scary or funny, but being something very romantic and very touchable, you know, was different.
How about the preparations for each day's shooting? What did you have to do?
No, well, it's about 3 hours. This was mercifully short for me, about 3 hours a day. Now, a lot of the pieces were pre-painted, so that when they glued them on, they had to touch up paints and you know, do a final spritz. But that's relatively short compared to the 7-hour makeups you might have on other films, which I have also done. But honestly, also the direction from Guillermo about his regalness. You know, it was alluded to that the locals in the Amazon where I was found worshiped me as a god. Well, so he wanted to see what would warrant that, you know. So I had to find a posture and a stance for him that was sort of heroic. And he also said to sprinkle in some matador. Right? Because aside from being a brutal sport, it's also very graceful and very sexy when those toreadors are leading with the pelvis, you know. So I tried to incorporate that into the Fishman as much as I could, and developing that chemistry with Sally Hawkins. Bless her. Oh, Sally Hawkins, right?